बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम। पेशावर पब्लिक स्कूल एंड कॉलेज। Dear students, Assalamu alaikum. Today we will discuss about unit number 9, chemical equilibrium, lecture number 3, conditions for equilibrium and ways to recognize equilibrium. Conditions for equilibrium. So first of all, we will discuss about the introduction. Like when we have a system which is at equilibrium state, it will remain in that equilibrium state forever if there is no change in the condition. Like in simple words, we can say that the system will remain in the equilibrium state if there is no change in conditions from external side. But when the conditions are disturbed, the equilibrium will also be disturbed. But the system has the ability, it will try to regain its equilibrium. So for this regaining of equilibrium, the reaction will move either in the forward direction or in the reverse direction to attain equilibrium. This is according to Le-Chatelier principle. Dear students, हम इसको आसान अल्फाज में इस तरह से बताएंगे कि अगर आपके पास एक सिस्टम है या एक केमिकल रिएक्शन है जो कि आप कैरी आउट कर रहे हैं, अगर वो इक्विलिब्रियम में है और आप कोई भी कंडीशन जैसे टेम्परेचर, कंसंट्रेशन, प्रेशर, कैटलिस्ट कुछ भी चेंज नहीं कर रहे, तो आपके पास वो सिस्टम इक्विलिब्रियम में रहेगा. लेकिन अगर आपने कंडीशंस में चेंज किया, फॉर एग्जांपल आपने टेम्परेचर इंक्रीज़ और डिक्रीज़ किया, प्रेशर, वॉल्यूम या कंसंट्रेशन आपने चेंज की, तो आपके पास वो सिस्टम की कोशिश होगी कि वो अपने आप को वापस इक्विलिब्रियम स्टेट में ले आए, जिसके लिए वो या तो फॉरवर्ड डायरेक्शन में मूव करेगा या फिर बैकवर्ड डायरेक्शन में मूव करेगा ताकि वापस इक्विलिब्रियम स्टेट में आ जाए. सो ये जो बात मैंने की है, दिस इज़ द स्टेटमेंट ऑफ ली-चैटलियर प्रिंसिपल. नाउ व्हाट आर द कंडीशंस फॉर इक्विलिब्रियम? So we will discuss them one by one. These are following are the conditions to retain equilibrium. Number 1 is closed system. Number 2 is concentration of reactants and or products. Number 3 is temperature of system. Number 4 is pressure or volume of a system. And number 5 is catalyst. Condition number 1 is closed system. Like the equilibrium system, it can be attained only in a closed container. Like we already know, I have discussed with you in the previous topic that if there will be a closed system, a closed container in which the reaction is carried out, like in case of evaporation or condensation, both the processes occurs, there is no movement of the reactant or product molecule to outside from the system. But if the system is closed, there will be equilibrium. But if the system is open, like you use an open container and the reactants are gaseous or the products are gaseous, they may escape into the atmosphere, leaving behind no possibility of attaining equilibrium. Like actually we can say in simple words that if there are gaseous components, reactants or products, they will evolve and there will be no reactant or product in the container which can maintain the equilibrium. So the closed system is one of the condition for maintaining equilibrium. Number 2 is concentration of reactants or products. Like if we change the concentration of one of the reactant or another reactant or of the product at equilibrium state, the system is no longer in the state of equilibrium. So according to Le-Chatelier principle, if the system at equilibrium is disturbed by change in any condition, like here we are discussing the change in concentration of reactant or products, the system will adjust itself so as to minimize the effect of that change. यहाँ पर जो ली-चैटलियर प्रिंसिपल है उसको हम सिंपल वर्ड्स में इस तरह से एक्सप्लेन करेंगे कि अगर आपके पास एक सिस्टम है और वो इक्विलिब्रियम में है, लेकिन आपने कोई एक कंडीशन, फॉर एग्जांपल यहाँ पे हम पहले कंसंट्रेशन का जिक्र कर रहे हैं, तो आपने अगर कोई भी एक रिएक्टेंट की कंसंट्रेशन चेंज कर ली या तो ऐड कर दिया या रिमूव कर दिया, या फिर किसी प्रोडक्ट की कंसंट्रेशन चेंज कर ली, उसको या रिमूव कर दिया या ऐड कर दिया, तो जो सिस्टम है उसकी ये कोशिश होगी कि वो रिएक्शन को या तो फॉरवर्ड डायरेक्शन में लेके जाए या फिर बैकवर्ड डायरेक्शन में लेके जाए, ताकि जो फैक्टर आपने अप्लाई किए जैसे चेंज इन कंसंट्रेशन, ताकि उसके असर को कम से कम कर सके और सिस्टम वापस इक्विलिब्रियम कंडीशन में आ सके. Like here, they have taken an example that when 1 mole of nitrogen is reacted with 1 mole of oxygen, both are the gaseous component, they result in the formation of 2 moles of nitric oxide, which is also a gaseous component. So it means the system or the chemical reaction having all the reactants and the products, they are in the gaseous state. There is a reversible sign which show the equilibrium. So the addition of N2 or O2, it will shift the equilibrium to the right side, forming more NO. It means the first condition, अगर हम कोई एक रिएक्टेंट, चाहे वो नाइट्रोजन है या चाहे वो ऑक्सीजन है, अगर हम बाहर से ऐड करते हैं तो रेट ऑफ रिएक्शन, फॉरवर्ड रिएक्शन जो है वो फास्ट हो जाएगा और ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा प्रोडक्ट जो कि नाइट्रिक ऑक्साइड है वो बनना शुरू हो जाएगा. Similarly, the removal of the NO also shift the equilibrium in the forward direction to form more NO. सेकेंड कंडीशन ऐसी भी हो सकती है कि अगर हम कोई एक रिएक्टेंट रिमूव करते हैं, अगर हम कोई एक प्रोडक्ट हम अगर रिमूव कर ले, जैसे नाइट्रिक ऑक्साइड हमारे पास प्रोडक्ट है, अगर हम उसको रिमूव कर दें तो प्रोडक्ट्स कम होते जाएंगे, तो ये दो जो रिएक्टेंट है हमारे पास जैसे नाइट्रोजन और ऑक्सीजन, वो और रिएक्ट करते जाएंगे ताकि फॉरवर्ड डायरेक्शन पे जाके जो प्रोडक्ट में कमी हो रही है उसको दोबारा ओवरकम कर सके और इक्विलिब्रियम कंडीशन जो है वो मेंटेन हो सके, जो कि हम ली-चैटलर प्रिंसिपल में पढ़ चुके हैं. बट इफ़ द रिमूवल ऑफ एनी वन ऑफ द रिएक्टेंट, it will shift the reaction in the reverse direction to form more and more reactant by decomposition of product. यहाँ पर एक तीसरी कंडीशन ये भी हो सकती है कि अगर हम रिएक्टेंट्स रिमूव कर लें, कोई एक या दोनों, कोई एक अगर हम रिमूव करें जैसे नाइट्रोजन या फिर ऑक्सीजन, तो फिर जो इक्विलिब्रियम जो रिएक्शन है वो रिवर्स डायरेक्शन में जाएगा. वो इस वजह से क्योंकि रिएक्टेंट्स में कमी हो रही है, तो अब प्रोडक्ट जो है वो मोर और मोर डिकम्पोज होगा और दोबारा से और रिएक्टेंट्स बनाएगा ताकि उस कमी को दूर कर सके और सिस्टम वापस इक्विलिब्रियम में आ सके. डियर स्टूडेंट्स, यहाँ पर उम्मीद है कि आपको समझ आ गई होंगी. नाउ वी विल डिस्कस अबाउट द डिपेंडेंस ऑफ वैल्यू ऑफ Kc, इक्विलिब्रियम कांस्टेंट, ऑन द चेंज इन द कंसंट्रेशन ऑफ रिएक्टेंट और प्रोडक्ट. Actually, the value of the Kc, as we have already discussed, it is independent of the change in the concentration of any reactant or product. Its value will remain same, but the change in concentration of reactant or product only changes the position of the equilibrium. Either it go in the forward direction or it may go into the reverse direction. Now, condition number 3 is temperature of the system. So now again we will discuss about the Le-Chatelier principle, that according to Le-Chatelier principle, if the temperature of a system or reaction, it will increases, the equilibrium shift in endothermic direction. The endothermic direction means endothermic reactions are those reactions in which the heat is absorbed. So endothermic direction here means that the direction in which the heat is absorbed. Like here we can understand it by taking an example of formation of carbon dioxide. Like when 1 mole of carbon monoxide is reacted with 1 mole of oxygen gas, both are the gaseous component, they result in the formation of 2 moles of carbon dioxide. Here they have given del H. Del H means enthalpy of a reaction. Enthalpy can be defined as the total heat content of a system, which is given with a negative sign like minus 41.84 kilojoules per mole. The negative sign shows that it is exothermic reaction. So as we have discussed, like if we increase the temperature of a reaction, the reaction will go in that direction where the heat is absorbed. If we consider this reaction is exothermic in the forward direction. Heat is evolved in the forward direction. But now if we look at the backward direction or reverse direction, this reaction is endothermic in the backward direction. So when we increase the temperature in this reaction, the reaction will go in the direction of, in the endothermic direction, like in the reverse direction, in the heat absorbing direction. Now the next thing is, we can say that if we increase the temperature, it would shift the equilibrium in the reverse direction. This is for the above example. Now the next example is the formation of nitrogen dioxide, which is an endothermic reaction. So now here 2 moles of nitric oxide react with 1 mole of oxygen gas. Both are the gaseous component, and they result in the formation of 2 moles of nitrogen dioxide, which is also a gaseous component. But here the enthalpy or the heat content which is given, that is plus 180.5 kilojoule per mole. So the positive signs show that it is an endothermic reaction, or simply we can say here that it is endothermic in the forward direction. So if we increase the temperature here, the reaction will move in the forward direction, because in the forward direction the reaction is endothermic. But opposite will be the case if you decrease the temperature, the reaction will move in the reverse direction. In the example number 2, while in the above example, as we have discussed, it is exothermic, and if we increase the temperature, reaction will go in the reverse direction, in the decomposition of carbon dioxide into carbon monoxide and oxygen. While if we decrease the temperature, the reaction will go in the forward direction. Now one thing in addition, listen it, that the value of the Kc, it depends upon the temperature. Like the value of Kc, it will changes with the change in temperature. Actually, as I have discussed, it is independent of the concentration of reactant or any other factor, but it depends on the temperature of a system. So dear students, hope you will be clear about the condition of temperature for equilibrium. The next is the next is condition number 4, that is pressure or volume of a system or reaction. So here the change in pressure, as we already know that the solids or the liquids, they are non-compressible. So there will be no effect or little effect on the solids or liquids. But if we discuss about the gaseous system, the pressure has effect on the gaseous equilibria. Like according to the Le Chatelier principle, if we increase the pressure, the equilibrium will shift in the direction of decreased volume. Actually, as you know from your previous class courses, that in Boyle's law, the volume and the pressure, they have inverse relation. So if we increase the pressure on equilibrium system, the equilibrium will shift in the direction of decreased volume. We can understand it from the example on the next page, like the effect of pressure or volume on the formation of nitrogen dioxide. Like when 2 moles of nitric oxide, it will react with 1 mole of oxygen, and it result in the formation of 2 moles of nitrogen dioxide. Here we consider or we suppose the number of moles equal to volume. Like 2 moles of nitric oxide means, from reactant side, from left side I am discussing 2 volume of nitric oxide, and 1 mole of oxygen, so 1 volume. So the total volume of the reactant is 3 volume. And when we go to the product side, nitrogen dioxide, it's 2 mole, so we will suppose it equal to 2 volume. So the product side is the decreased volume size, while the reactant side is the increased volume size, which is about total is 3 volume. So this reaction shows that the volume is decreased in the forward direction. So if we increase the pressure, so the equilibrium will shift in the decreased volume side. Like on the right side, the volume is decreased, while on the left side the volume is increased. So here again the Boyle's law is also followed, like the volume and the pressure, it has inverse relation. So once again we can say that according to the Le Chatelier principle, if we increase pressure, the reaction will go in that direction where the volume is decreased. But opposite will be the case, like if we decrease pressure, the reaction will go to that direction where the volume is increased. Now next is the condition number 5, that is catalyst. A catalyst does not affect equilibrium. It means there is no effect of catalyst on the such reactions which are in equilibrium state. Like the catalyst has a role, it only speed up the reaction either in the forward direction or in the reverse direction. Or we can say in simple words, it reduces the time of reaction. So in result we can say that the catalyst has no effect on the reaction. Now, the next is the topic after conditions for equilibrium. The next topic is ways to recognize equilibrium. So, most of the time in paper, the question appear from this topic, that is, what are the experimental methods for determination of equilibrium state? So, the equilibrium state, the answer is the equilibrium state or the equilibrium constant of a chemical reaction. It can be determined by the following methods. There are two methods used for determination of equilibrium state of a reaction. Like number one is the physical method and number second is the chemical method. So the physical method contain three processes and the chemical method contain one process, which is discussed in your book on page number 10 and 11. So first of all, we will discuss about the physical method. Like in this method, the chemical composition or structure of a compound, it remains same. It do not change. Like you already know, like physical change mean when there is no, it is not a permanent change. So there will be no change in the chemical composition or the structure of compound. Like the examples of physical method and the types of the physical methods, they are refractometry. In the same way, they also discuss the polarimetry and spectrophotometry. So we discuss them one by one. The first one is refractometry. The instrument used for the refractometry, that is refractometer. Now, what is refractometry? These are not discussed in the book in detail, but here I have discussed in a little bit detail. Maybe a question comes from this topic, so kindly note it. Refractometry, it is an analytical method in which the refractive index of a substance is measured. Actually, refractometry is a technique which is used for the measurement of refractive index. So now the question arises, what is refractive index? As you know from your physics course, that refractive index, it is the measure of how much speed of light changes when it enters from one medium to another medium. Like actually here we will measure the change in the speed of light when it enter from one medium to another medium, means maybe it enter from rare to denser medium. So in denser medium the speed will decreases, but maybe it enter from the denser to the rare medium, then in rare after denser the speed will increases. There is also given, here is also given another definition. Like refractive index can also be defined as the ratio of velocity of light of a given wavelength in an empty space divided by its velocity in a substance. Like it's the ratio of velocity of any substance in the two mediums. One is in a chemical substance and the other is empty space like vacuum. Now the question arises, what is wavelength? Wavelength you already know from your previous courses, like it is the distance between two consecutive crusts or two consecutive troughs, that is wavelength. Now the refractive index, it can be represented by n equal to c over v. N shows the refractive index of the medium, c show the velocity of light in reaction, while v show the velocity of light in c show the velocity of light in vacuum or in space, while v show the velocity of light in medium. Now maybe the question arises in your mind that what is its importance, like where the refractive index is used. Like here we are taking it in the topic ways to recognize equilibrium. Refractive index, it is used to identify an unknown liquid compound. Like if we have a compound, if it's we don't know about its nature, so we find out its refractive index, like what will be the change takes place when light passes through it. These are actually all are the techniques which are related to light phenomena. Or we can identify that compound from the value of its refractive index. Different values of the refractive index are provided in the literature. Then we find out experimentally and compare it with the actual value. Now this refractive index value, it can be also used as a measure of purity of substance. Like if a substance is pure, its observed value will be equal to or nearly equal to its true value. But if it is not pure, maybe its refractive index value will decreases or increases if there will be any impurity in that substance. So the purity of substance can also be checked by the technique refractive index. But it can the next is, it can also be used to indicate the material ability to refract light. Like different substances have different ability to refract light. So from the refractive index value, we can determine that which substance has the ability up to which extent that it can refract light. Or simply we can say, like when we discuss about the other two techniques, uh, from these we can determine the concentration of substances also, which is related to the equilibrium. Like number two technique, which we will discuss in physical method, that is polarimetry. So now what is polarimetry? Polarimetry is an analytical technique which is used to determine the concentration of substance and the purity of substance in pharmaceutical industries. Like the concentration of substance, we can determine it by the polarimetric technique. Polarimetry, the substances of which concentration we determine, that may be sugar, that may be peptides, that may be volatile oils, and their purity can also be determined, as I have discussed in the previous case, in pharmaceutical industries. So actually, we consider mostly on the concentration, because concentration is related to our equilibrium conditions. Number third is the spectrophotometry. So now, what is spectrophotometry? It's also a physical technique. It's analytical technique. Analytical means in which we determine the quality and the quantity of a substance. So it's an analytical technique which is used to determine the concentration of substance from absorbance measurement. Means for a substance, the measurement of light absorbed by that substance, we will take it. Like in this technique, we can also determine the concentration, but from absorbance measurement. Like when we pass light from a substance and it absorbs light, if there is another substance, it will absorb light. And suppose we have different solutions of different concentrations. फॉर एग्ज़ाम्पल आई कैन एक्सप्लेन इट इन सिंपल वर्ड्स. अगर हमारे पास मुख्तलिफ़ कंसनट्रेशन के सोल्यूशंस हैं, जैसे 0.01 मोलर या 0.02 मोलर, 0.1 मोलर, फिर हम उसके एब्जॉर्बेंस मेजरमेंट करते हैं, फिर हम एक ग्राफ प्लॉट करते हैं, या हायर लेवल में पढ़ेंगे इंशाल्लाह. फिर जब एब्जॉर्बेंस की वैल्यू हमें पता चल जाती है, स्पेक्ट्रोफोटोमीट्री जो टेक्निक है, इसमें हम एक इंस्ट्रूमेंट यूज़ करते हैं जिसका नाम है स्पेक्ट्रोफोटोमीटर, स्पेक्ट्रॉनिक 20. तो उस एब्जॉर्बेंस की वैल्यूज़ हम कंसंट्रेशन के साथ इसका ग्राफ प्लाट करते हैं. तो जो अननोन सब्सटेंस होता है, उसकी जो एब्जॉर्बेंस हमें नोन होती है, तो उसमें से हम उसकी कंसंट्रेशन फाइंड आउट कर लेते हैं. जैसे हम जो डिफरेंट सोल्यूशन लेंगे, उसमें एक अननोन होगा जबकि कुछ नॉन सोल्यूशंस होंगे. तो ये आगे आप सीनियर क्लासेस में पढ़ेंगे इंशाल्लाह. बट दीज टेक्निक्स, दीज आर वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट एंड दीज आर इंस्ट्रूमेंटल टेक्निक्स. Now the next, here they have given an example, if we have bacteria in a sample solution and it absorb light. अगर हमारे पास एक सैम्पल है, उसमें बैक्टीरिया मौजूद है, और जितना जितना वो सैम्पल उसकी एब्जॉर्बेंस इंक्रीज़ होती जाएगी, अगर हम एब्जॉर्बेंस मुख्तलिफ़ टाइम से नोट करते जाएँ, तो इट मीन्स के हमें पता चल जाएगा रिज़ल्ट में कि जितनी ज़्यादा एब्जॉर्बेंस ऑफ लाइट की वैल्यू होगी, उतना हमें पता चल जाएगा कि इसमें जो है वो बैक्टीरिया ज़्यादा है, क्योंकि उन्होंने ज़्यादा लाइट एब्जॉर्ब की होगी. लाइक द एब्जॉर्बेंस ऑफ लाइट इंक्रीजेज विद इंक्रीज इन द नंबर ऑफ बैक्टीरिया. नाउ द ways to recognize equilibrium. The second method is chemical method. So now what is chemical method? Chemical method is that method in which the chemical composition or the structure of compound it will change. Like they have provided an example, titration. So in titration, this is also present in your metric course in the practical part. Titration is a technique in which we determine the unknown concentration or molarity of a substance by reacting it with the molarity or concentration of another substance that is known. Like suppose if we have two substances, one is acid or another is base, and suppose the molarity of acid is known, the concentration or molarity of acid is known, and of the base is unknown. So we react them both. We can use here an indicator also, and as a result we can determine the concentration or the molarity of that unknown substance, which is base, by dilution formula, as you know from your 9th class course. M1V1 divided by N1 is equal to M2V2 divided by N2. So this technique is also used for the measurement of concentration of substances. like of the equilibrium reactions. But here, one thing in addition I will discuss, as I have written in the definition of chemical method, that the composition or the structure of compound will change. So when we react a base with acid, it result in the formation of salt and water. So the salt and water, it have different composition than the base and acid, and they will lose their base and acid, they will lose their properties, and they result in the formation of salt and water, which have different properties. So the composition and the structure of compound in chemical method, it will change. And titration is the example of this method, in which we determine the concentration of products or reactants at regular interval of time. When the concentration becomes constant, a stage will reach when their concentration becomes constant. It means that when we treat the acid with the base, one thing we will take acid or base in the burette, and another we will take in the titration flask. So when the number of moles of hydrogen ion from the acid, it becomes equal to the number of moles of hydroxyl ion from a base, uh, a neutral solution is obtained, or we can say an equilibrium stage is reached. The concentrations become constant, there will be no further change. Like suppose if there is a color change, and there is no further change in the color, suppose, or in the concentration, so dynamic equilibrium is established. So both the chemical method and the physical method, they both are important, and they have their scope on industrial level too. Now next is your homework. So in homework you attempt the short question, what are the conditions of equilibrium? So girls, here another question will also you can attempt, like what is Le Chatelier principle. So you can search its history, and you can take the statement from here and the examples from here. We have discussed this topic in very detail, so you can make your notes from this lecture, or from these slides, or from these pages. So learn this topic too. Now thank you, and Allah Hafiz.